So does this game have like a real-time dynamic weather system then with these volumetric clouds? Would that like, now are we talking, is there going to be weather? Is that just going to be putting some different shadows on the ground, making it look really dynamic and realistic?
We don't have weather because we chose not to. It could easily be added. We actually had weather in Ground Control 2, so it's there if we want it, but we decided not to. What we have instead is something we call mood changes. So gradually, as you start destroying the world and more things blow up, the whole mood of the world changes. You get darker clouds, the color pattern changes, so it becomes more moody and more eerie and more spooky. So you begin with this fresh Spielberg suburb, everything is happy, and you turn it into an ashtray.
So every day you're kind of playing out this war whenever you play in this battle. So
every 20 minutes.
Every 20 minutes, that's right. Every 20 minutes the United States gets destroyed, everybody. Now we're talking...
Apologies.
He doesn't mean it, he swears. Now we're talking about there's a ground deformation too. This is something that we don't really see very often in games. What extent did you take the ground deformation?
Well, we have actual craters in the ground, and they work as real 3D objects. So if you have an infantryman standing in the bottom of a crater, he doesn't have line of sight beyond the edges of the crater. So, and the tanks actually have to drive down and up through them. So it works like the rest of the world. Everything is in real 3D, and your line of sight is dependent on what you actually see from your vantage point.
So let's say you have an artillery piece, and you want to put it in a hole there, so he can just sit there and he'll be covered from all sides. It'd be like making your own bunker with a nuke.
Yep, but he won't see anything beyond that crater, so he will depend on his teammates to give him some information on where to shoot.
All right, now let's talk a little about the super weapons. You say you wanted to see all these super weapons that never got to see in real life for obviously good reasons. What type of super weapons are we looking for in this game?
Well, the big one is the nuke. Everybody wants to try that out, and it's you feel ashamed at how rewarding it is to use it, but it's really fun. And then you have fuel air bombs, you have carpet bombing, you have napalm, you have there's all sorts of weapons and the big guns, and they're really fun to use. So,
all right, so we're gonna hopefully be starting up another match here. We can maybe check out some of these nukes. Now you say there's no building.
Right, no base building.
All right, we're all gonna be. It's gonna be a unit credit type system where it's just a building thing. Now, when you capture more points, do you get more credits, or is this just a constant flow of supply?
The credits always remain the same. And that's because we want to make sure that people can drop into a game even late if they want to. They have the same situation, the same starting point as everybody else. But there is one thing that makes a little bit of difference, and that is fortifications. If you control a command point for a longer time, it starts to fortify itself. So you get a machine gun nest, an anti-air nest, and so on. So those are actual buildings that just stick on that place on the map. And so you don't actually need to defend that command point. The enemy has to first destroy those buildings, and then they can take control over the command point.
Now, I think you guys got a really great game here. Now, but it's very different than most of the RTSs you've seen before. When you guys were originally coming up with this concept and creating this idea, were you ever nervous at all going into just such a totally different type of RTS?
I'm still nervous, to be honest. The game is shipping on September 18, and fingers crossed it's going to go really well, but I'm still nervous about it. We tried consciously to make everything as accessible and easy as we could, because there are a couple of things that you have to learn in order to really enjoy this game. But we try to keep those things to as few as possible. But the free roaming camera is one, the lack of base building is another. So there's a couple of things that are different, and hopefully people will pick it up really fast.
Yeah, definitely. Now, you guys got the really good storyline here. It's pretty much Red Dawn with massive destruction. Are you going to be including a single-player campaign?
Absolutely. I think even if you check out IGN and GameSpot today, they have the first preview of the single-player. So the single-player, what we said was we want to make something that is better than the single-player campaign in Company of Heroes. And that was really hard to do, because that's an awesome game. But I think we're there, and I think people are going to discover that, you know, it's not only a great multiplayer game, it's actually just as good as single-player.